Endnu en gang velkommen til min kanal Sainabou. Den her dokumentarserie er et forsøg på at sætte ord og tanker på nogle af de bekymringer, jeg har, når det kommer til hele den teknologiske udvikling, og mere specifikt den måde, teknologiens manipulerende mekanismer påvirker os alle sammen i en verden styret af algoritmer.
My name is Jelani Nelson, and I'm an algorithms addict. We want to make sure that there's an automated way to carry out a lot of tasks. And that automated way, that is an algorithm. That's what algorithms are. They're procedures, they're ways, they're ways of doing things. For example, I give you two numbers and I say add them, right? And they could be numbers that you've never seen before, but you have some well-defined procedure to do addition. So even if you see some new input, some new numbers that you've never seen before, you know how to add them, right? You write one on top of the other, you start from the right-hand side, and then you work your way and keep track of carries. So like that is an algorithm to solve the addition problem. I could say, here's a map and here are 2 points on the map. Find me the shortest route to get from here to there. There might be many different paths. Find me the one that's best. And then some algorithm would be the one to actually figure out, the answer. When you describe an algorithm to a computer, you describe it by writing code, and that code is really just a set of instructions for the computer to carry out. As someone who does research in algorithms, what I do and what other algorithmists do is try to find an algorithm for the problem that's as efficient as possible. Like use few resources, use little time, so run quickly, use little memory, etc. So you also see it in like machine learning applications where some algorithm needs to run to like learn a predictor or a classifier. There's been a lot of work recently on like bias in machine learning. I'll borrow an example from my colleague here at Berkeley, Moritz Hart. So let's say that I have ads on my platform, like I'm Facebook or I'm Google or whoever. I want to show job ads to people, right? So let's say like videographers. Like, would you like to work at Forbes? So it makes sense that I probably want to target these ads and show them to people who are themselves videographers or in adjacent spaces, right? So, but I need to make a prediction. Is this person a videographer or not? And it might not be obvious depending on the context. Like if it's on Facebook, maybe in their profile they say what their job is. Maybe they don't. But even if they don't, I'd still like to guess if they are, right? Whether they are. And maybe I can guess based on what they've liked, right? Based on the posts they've made. There might be hints there that this person is likely to be a videographer. There, the computational task is basically I have all this historical data because I have like 1 billion plus people on Facebook. And like the algorithm needs to basically output a classifier so that when someone in the future comes in, a new user creates an account, or someone who's not labeled with their job, based on their data, I need to make a decision. Like, is this person likely to be a videographer or not? And imagine that it came out that I'm actually showing this job ad to men more than I'm showing it to women, okay? Or the other way around. You could ask, is that a problem? Or is that fair? Because one group is seeing the ad less, they have less opportunity to apply for that job, which is not good, right? At the same time, maybe certain jobs have discrepancies in gender of like who takes that job on average. Maybe it just so happens that, I'm making up a number, 80% of videographers in America are women. So then doesn't it make sense that I show this job ad to women more than men because there are more women who are videographers, right? So there are different things that are kind of at odds here in terms of like, what exactly do I want? Like what kind of bias is allowed bias and what isn't? And so researchers are looking at these questions very carefully and trying to come up with schemes that achieve certain goals. Most of these, if you take any two different notions, they're at odds with each other and you can't get them both at the same time. So people have to really sit down and think like, which goal do we actually want?
I virkeligheden har vi ingen anelse om, hvad alle de her algoritmesystemer kan fortælle om os i dag, og ikke mindst i fremtiden. Noget så simpelt som at købe en bestemt shampoo kan åbenbart røbe rimelig væsentlige oplysninger omkring os. Tilbage i 2003 kunne man nemlig læse en artikel i The New York Times, som omhandlede en supermarkedskæde, som vidste, at en ung pige var gravid, før hun selv anede noget om det.
The New York Times reported a case of a supermarket chain that knew a girl was pregnant even before she did, or was prepared to share the news. The market's algorithms discovered that the girl switched from fragrant shampoos to more neutral-smelling products. Since the olfactory sensors of pregnant women become stronger, the market algorithm assumed this girl must be pregnant. Her father didn't know, until he was repeatedly sent special offers for baby products. Thanks to the analysis of trillions of terabytes of behavioral data that we unwittingly leave around the digital domain, big tech sometimes knows us better than we know ourselves.
Vores digitale fodspor fortæller så ufattelig mange ting omkring os. Også alle de ting, vi måske aldrig nogensinde har haft til hensigt at dele med andre eller videregive. Hele vores følelsesregister, vores personlighedstræk, vores identitet, vores politiske ståsted og selv vores mentale tilstande. Og det er vel kun fantasien, der kan sætte grænser her. Big Tech består af informationsteknologiindustrien. De største og allermest dominerende virksomheder i verden. Virksomheder som Apple, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Facebook, IBM, Instagram og mange flere. Og teknokratiet er styret af forførende teknologier, som er programmeret og styret af ingeniører, som er eksperter i at designe software, som manipulerer med os alle sammen døgnet rundt.
Told to use the computer. Don't let the computer use you. You all saw the Matrix. There is a war going on with battlefields in the mind. And the prize is the soul.
Alle de familiebilleder, vi poster på Facebook, indeholder store mængder af det, de kalder for residual data. Herfra kan Big Tech som sagt udtrække ekstremt værdifuld viden omkring os. Men det vigtige her er ikke billederne som sådan, men vores ansigter, som vi frivilligt har givet dem tusindvis af billeder og videoer af. Fordi det tillader dem at analysere 100.000 af muskler i vores ansigter. Men hvorfor overhovedet bruge tid på at bekymre sig om den slags ting? En god grund er, at informationerne fra vores ansigter blandt andet bliver brugt til at træne det, de kalder for træningsmodeller, som bruges til at skabe genkendelsessoftware, som sælges til blandt andet forretningskunder rundt omkring i verden, uden vores samtykke og uden at vi ved af det, men på din og min bekostning. Spørgsmålet er så bare, hvem bliver vores ansigter solgt til, og hvad bliver det brugt til? Professor Johanna Schubau forklarer, at meget af det blandt andet bliver solgt til forretningskunder i Kina.
The predictive value that big tech can glean from residual data is huge. The family photos we post on our Facebook pages contain residual data from which vast amounts of valuable knowledge can be distilled.
Let's say I put my children's birthday party photo album on the web, on the Facebook pages. What we don't understand is that the most important thing there are not the photos per se. It's the predictive signals that these companies can lift from the photos. It's not just my face, but it's allowing them to have the face so that they can analyze the hundreds of muscles in my face.
Uploading innocent snapshots on your Facebook page can have unforeseen consequences. Our faces, for example, are used to train algorithms to recognize facial features. And we have absolutely no idea what that facial recognition software is used for.
These data streams with these rich predictive signals are fed into the new factories, the computational factories, analyzed for predictions of human behavior, and these predictions are then sold. Who are they sold to? They're not sold to us. We are not the customers. They're sold to businesses, to business customers who want to maximize our value to their business, whatever it may be. They use information from our faces, which we've given billions and billions of photos to Facebook to train models for facial recognition. Those models are then sold to military operations, some of them in China. And those Chinese operations do many things, including imprisoning the Uyghur, a subset of the Uyghur Muslim population in China, in what is rightly regarded as an open-air prison, where they actually don't have to have people behind bars because they track and follow them constantly through facial recognition.
Med overvågningskapitalisme via et social credit score system vil vores frihed og vores rettigheder fuldstændig blive taget fra os. De her kapitalister og teknokrater vil fortsat kunne udnytte og bruge vores personlige og private data målrettet imod os. Alt imens vi er forsvarsløse. Fordi det er som sagt ikke vores ansigter, der bliver solgt, men det er alt den data, der skabes ud fra dem.
China is positioning itself to lead the world in artificial intelligence. Surveillance technology is a key proving ground. Facial recognition, body scanning, and geo-tracking, matched with your personal data and online behaviour, will power the social credit system, leaving no dark corner to hide in. At the World Intelligence Congress in Tianjin, Big Brother's new toys are on show. Several of the exhibitors here, including tech giant Alibaba, are now working with the state to write the algorithms that will calculate your social credit score. They've already got the know-how and the user data from their financial credit system, Alipay. Manager of Alipay Tianjin is Chong Jia.
一个人一旦有了芝麻信用，他的在生活当中的点点滴滴的信用行为都会被记录起来，用数字去衡量它。那一个人如果信用不好，我们实现的一个目标就是让守信者通行天下，让失信者寸步难行。
Sounds dramatic, but it's the party line. Pilot programs for a national social credit system are already underway. By 2020, the official outline boasts it will allow the trustworthy to roam freely under heaven, while making it hard for the discredited to take a single step.
我觉得中国真的在很短时间能发展成现在的这个样子，我觉得真的非常自豪。另外，我也觉得，就是由于大数据的发展和一些新的一些 digital 手段的一个发展，然后现在在中国生活真的很方便、很便捷。
Fan Dandan is going places. Very much the modern Chinese woman. She's a marketing professional, diligent and prosperous, and sees clear skies in her digital future.
那么，其实政府已经掌握了我们很多资料，然后政府方也掌握了一些我们个人信用，就比如说是否遵纪守法啊，以及我们的教育程度。那我觉得，如果把所有的大数据，那对我们来讲其实是更高效的。
A model citizen, Dandan will rate highly on social credit. That her every action will be tracked and judged is fine by her.
其实是，但我觉得哪儿的人可能都希望有一个非常稳定的一个和谐的一个社会。那如果真的像国家现在在努力去做的这个事情，每个角落都有这个，就是每个公共区域的拐角都有这个摄像头的话，其实我觉得我会觉得更安全一些。
Dandan's criminal, academic and medical records will feed into her score, as well as state security assessments. Her shopping habits will be another measure. Her score could even change in real time, depending on what she puts in her trolley. Buy a lot of alcohol suggests dependence. Lose a couple of points. Buy a pack of nappies, gain a few, suggests responsibility. Late on mortgage payments or your tax return, lose a lot more. Not that Dandan would risk that. She keeps a close eye on her financial rating via a mobile payment app. So this is Sesame Credit, right?
Yeah.
So what's the score that you have? So you've got
773.
773. So
Correct.
what's the maximum you can get?
I think it's 800.
So you got a pretty good score.
Oh wow, I think I'm doing well. Not the best, but yeah, somewhere on top.
773. So what kind of access or what kind of privileges does that give you?
This is like for rent cars. I don't have to pay deposit.
So you don't have to pay a deposit, yeah?
Yeah, and this is also for a hotel, and also no deposit for renting a house.
China's middle class is on the rise. Like Dan, they're mostly young, urban, and used to living much of their lives online and on devices. Who you date and ultimately partner with will also affect your social credit. Dan married for love, but she also chose the right husband. Zhang Xiaojing's score is likely to be even higher than hers. Xiaojing is a civil servant with the Justice Department, a loyal cadre of the party.
外交或者通交的国家，对吧？大家付出复利，其实都是一个信用体系。当然，对于我们就是内部而言，民众而言，大家也希望大家都是人与之间互助、互爱，然后互帮，然后大家共同的富裕。第二个，我希望就像习总书记说的我们能够达到就是富强、民主、文明、和谐、美丽。 是吧？他提出的一个国家的发展希望，当然也是我们全中国人民的希望。
我们看看今天中国人的这个精神面貌就知道。 他们被蒙住了眼睛，捂住了耳朵，实际上是又聋又瞎的。他们其实很多信息都不知道，就呈现在一种虚幻的这个感觉里面。
I've come to Chongqing City, a high-tech metropolis in central China, where the Jialing River meets the Yangtze. I'm here to meet one of the 10 million people who've seen the dark side of the social credit system. Investigative journalist Leo Hu. With a street-smart, hands-on approach, Hu has exposed high-level corruption and solved murder cases abandoned by the police. In many countries, he'd be celebrated, not in China.
我觉得很多政府把我当成敌人吧。 我们更倾向于它是一种宣传的机器，它可以向国民来灌输一些东西，而不是说需要大家去了解真相。要是有人去阻挠、去披露它，那么我就认为它跟贪腐，这个贪腐它是一伙的。
In 2015, Hu lost a defamation case after he accused an official of extortion. He was made to publish an apology and pay a fine. But when the court demanded an additional fee, Hu refused. Then in 2017, he found himself suddenly locked out of society. Under a pilot social credit scheme, he'd been blacklisted as dishonest.
我有一些律师朋友，也有一些法官朋友，他们都告诉我们，失信是因为欠钱。 我不欠钱，我是不能够纳入这个名单的。
Hu maintains he has fully met the terms of his 2015 case. He believes his blacklisting is political, but he has no way of challenging it.
我有两方面看法。第一个是很多错误的被纳入这个信用系统的人，他没法摆脱。
His poor social credit rating has shut down his travel options. and confined him to effective house arrest in Chongqing.
我现在是已经被限制这个自由的出行了，就是订票啊，我们高铁和飞机都不行。我跟你演示一下，我们用这个 APP 来订票。现在是我们从重庆到西安，我们来订一张票，订一张过几天的票。
And what does it say?
然后就显示那个出票失败，说我已经被法院依法限制高消费，限制乘坐 G 字头列车。
Hu's social media accounts have also been closed. Before his arrest, he had nearly 2 million followers. It's where he published much of his journalism.
我曾经有过好几个微博，10几个，这些微博号现在都没有了。最新的一个，这个是被封的一个号，现在是这个号是没有了。
Hu scrapes by, writing for an online publication. His investigative reports are on hold. It's not his first run-in with censorship. In August 2013, he was detained without trial after exposing a senior party member's links with illegal prostitution. This is a recreation based on Hu's accounts.
你的行为对社会已经造成了诽谤罪，你认不认罪？如果你承认了，领导高兴了就把你给放了。
Over the course of a year, he was interrogated more than 70 times.
就是说，你要跟我们配合，你不配合，等你出来，你这个工作也没了，你老婆孩子也跟人跑了。
Hu refused to confess and was eventually released. Now he's trapped again, the four walls of a cell replaced by social credits dragnet.
那个进去出来这几年，5年时间嘛，到现在，我们媒体行业是变化很大的，没法干，大家很多人都离开这个行业了，包括特别是做调查的、做深度报道的记者是越来越少。我想我只是还喜欢这个，就尽可能多的留在这个地方，然后写一些我愿意写的一些故事，能够起一些作用吧。
I'm going to a place where the principles of social credit have been taken to brutal extremes. The party doesn't want the world to know about it. Reporting on the situation is risky. To get there, we must fly 4,000 kilometers from Beijing to the western edge of China. Xinjiang, the nation's largest province, and according to some, the world's largest open prison. Xinjiang is the homeland of the Uyghurs, Turkic people of Islamic faith. China's rulers have struggled to control the region and its people for 2 millennia. Surveillance technology is the new weapon in their campaign.
Bu nazorat sistemasi 2016 yılı yıl ahir kelganda shuningdan keyin biz burun ko'rib boqmagan, anglab boqmagan, hech qanday bizlarga tajriba qilib boqmagan kuzatish sistemalari, nazorat sistemalari orqadan paydo bo'ldi.
Tahir Hamid is a Uyghur filmmaker and poet from the Xinjiang city of Kashgar. He can talk about the situation there because he managed to escape with his family to the US, where they've applied for political asylum. He made the decision to flee last year.
5 oy bo'lsa kerak, bizga soqchi punktdan telefon qildi. Kelsanglar deb bo'ldi deb biz soqchi punktiga bordik. Soqchi punktiga borgandan keyin bizni bir soqchi punktiniki yer osti uyiga boshlab kirdi. Bu yer osti uyi odatda so'roq qilingan uy. Mayindagi ishxonalarda zanjirlar issiqlik, biz yo'lbos o'rindiq deydigan jinoyatchilarni qo'lni bog'lab qo'yib o'tirib so'roq qiladigan o'rindiqlar, temir o'rindiqlar bor. Biz uning ichiga kirgandan keyin taxminan bu yerda bir 20-30 odam bor. Hammasi Uyg'ur ularniki. Birinchi qadamda bizga navbatgan chog'da ayolimda ishganlarniki qon oldi. Ikkinchi qadamda bizning ovozimizni oldi. Endi uchinchi bosqichda bizniki barmoq izimizni oldi. Demak, buni tugatib bo'lgandan keyin, anadan keyin to'rtinchi qadamda bizniki yuzimizni suratga oldi. Biz endi bu suratga olgan chog'da apparat qaraymiz, qarab turib, o'dil qarab, andan keyin o'ngga qaytib kelamiz, solga, yana qaytib kelamiz, ustiga qaytib kelamiz, ostiga.
Tahir and his wife were being scanned by facial recognition software. Their faces mapped from all angles to enhance accuracy. They were even forced to produce a range of facial expressions.
Meningcha hamda bu kontrol sistemasi Uyg'urlarga nishonli qaratilgan bir xil sistema. Chunki bir Xitoydagi bir davlatda biz bir osonlik millat hisoblanadigan bir millatda milliy madaniyat siyosiy harakatninki birinchi hujum nishoni bo'ladi.
Inside Kashgar, it's almost impossible to report independently. Government officials do their best to conceal any sign of the oppression Tahir describes. Look closer and the cracks appear. The party-approved vision of this city is a facade. Kashgar's historic old town has been demolished and just one section rebuilt as a sort of Uyghur theme park for Chinese tourists. You can buy souvenirs, try the local cuisine, and even see a show. But there's tension in the air. The locals can't speak with us. Armed guards and cameras keep a watchful eye, and Chinese flags claim the rooftops, even the dome of the mosque. So it's quite difficult to film here. We've got about 6 miners with us the whole time. They're telling us what we can film, what we can't do. Sometimes they delete our material. On top of that, we've got about another 8 to 10 security guards that further restrict our movements. What I can tell you from the car is that though they've set up a kind of grid-like management system, and every 100 metres or so you see a police station, and they're aided with enormous amounts of CCTV cameras, with facial recognition, to really have a total control here. What is clear is that there is quite a brutal, repressive crackdown going on here, and technology is at the centre of it. Xinjiang's take on social credit is simple and ruthless. Citizens here are not given a score. Instead, they're divided into just 3 categories: trustworthy, average, untrustworthy. If you're Han Chinese, you're deemed trustworthy and granted freedom of movement. But if you're Uyghur, you're average, with restrictions imposed on travel and religious practices. If you're a Uyghur male who breaks those restrictions, you're marked as untrustworthy and detained in what the party calls education and training centres. Tahir Hamut has another name for them.
Yani aşu yığılış lagerinin içinde nayte tar bir muhitta, tar bir joyda nurdan ortiq odam bildi turdi. Ular kunda 10 necha soatlab siyosiy o'rganish qiladi. Andan keyin yeydigan tamog'i, ichadigan suyi, turmushi intayin qiyin. Andan keyin hamda bu yig'ilish lagerlarida hamda nurg'un odam kasal bo'ladi. Andan keyin hatto o'lib ketayotgan odamlarniki ushullarini shu chaqdan tortib biz anglashga boshlagan.
In August this year, the UN announced it had seen credible reports that over 1 million Uyghurs are currently held without charge in camps in Xinjiang, purely because of their ethnicity. The Chinese government rejects the claim, insisting it only detains convicted terrorists. Tahir's personal experience tells a different story. When Xinjiang authorities discovered he'd fled to America, his brother and 2 brothers-in-law disappeared.
Ular bilan aloqalash mumkin emas. Ular yig'ilish lagerida. Faqat ularning oila tavobatlari, masalan, ayollari yoki ularning bizningki urug' tuqqanlarimiz bilan aloqa qilishmi hozirgi vaqt mumkin emas. Biz aloqa qila olamiz, biz telefon qilsak bo'ladi. Lekin biz telefon qilsak yoki ularga aloqalashsak, saqchilar darhol biladi va uning bilan bizning boshqa urug' tuqqanlarimizni yig'ilish lageriga akirib.
Teachers at this primary school in China know exactly when someone isn't paying attention. These headbands measure each student's level of concentration. The information is then directly sent to the teacher's computer and to parents. China has big plans to become a global leader in artificial intelligence. It has enabled a cashless economy where people make purchases with their faces. A giant network of surveillance cameras with facial recognition helps police monitor citizens. Meanwhile, some schools offer glimpses of what the future of high-tech education in the country might look like. Good job! Classrooms have robots that analyze students' health and engagement levels. Students wear uniforms with chips that track their locations. There are even surveillance cameras that monitor how often students check their phones or yawn during classes. These gadgets have alarmed Chinese netizens. But schools say it wasn't hard for them getting parental consent to enroll kids into what is one of the world's largest experiments in AI education. A program that's supposed to boost students' grades while also feeding powerful algorithms.
就是国家的这个研究呀、发展呀，我觉得是没有问题的。
The government has poured billions of dollars into the project, bringing together tech giants, startups, and schools. We got exclusive access to a primary school a few hours outside of Shanghai. To see firsthand how AI tech is being used in the classroom. For this 5th grade class, the day begins with putting on a brain wave sensing gadget. Students then practice meditating.
现在想象我们眉心有一点柔和的光芒绽放。
The device is made in China and has 3 electrodes, 2 behind the ears and 1 on the forehead. These sensors pick up electrical signals sent by neurons in the brain. The neural data is then sent in real time to the teacher's computer. So while students are solving math problems, a teacher can quickly find out who's paying attention and who's not.
说明这段时间他是有点在那走神的。
A report is then generated that shows how well the class was paying attention. It even details each student's concentration level at 10-minute intervals. It's then sent to a chat group for parents.
就是他可以看到每个人的评分。
The reports are detailed, but whether these devices really work and what they exactly measure isn't as clear. We were curious if the headbands could actually measure concentration, so one of our reporters tried on the device.
This is a new technology with still fairly little research behind it.
Theodore Zanto is a neuroscientist at the University of California, San Francisco. He was surprised to learn that this tech, called electroencephalography, also known as EEG, is being used in the classroom on children. It's usually used by doctors in hospitals and labs.
EEG is very susceptible to artifacts. And so if you are itchy or just a little fidgety, or the EEG wasn't set up properly so that the electrodes didn't have a good contact, affects the signal.
Despite the chances for false readings, Teachers told us the headbands have forced students to become more disciplined.
上课回答我的问题，就是他们的声音会比平常更响亮。
Teachers say the students now pay better attention during class, and that has made them study harder and achieve higher scores.
上课认真听讲，作业做的基本上是全对的。
But not all students are as enthusiastic.
就是自己的脑筋空，我感觉这里有个紧的。
This fifth grader, whom we caught dozing off in class, told us his parents punish him for low attention scores. And that kind of data adds a new kind of pressure for students.
想啊，如果在一次考试全班人都考了95分以上，就你考了一个85，你会不会感觉你有一种
Companies we interviewed said the data can go to government-funded research projects. We spoke to parents who were unclear about where the data ended up, and they didn't seem to care too much. Santos says there's likely no privacy protection at all.
In a classroom, if you're trying to make an assessment of an individual student, you really can't anonymize it.
Experts and citizens alike are sounding alarms about various aspects of the country's huge push into artificial intelligence. These classrooms are laboratories for future generations. And while these new tools may potentially help some 200 million students raise their grades, just how this all works out won't be apparent until they become adult citizens.
Hvordan vil du have det med at leve i et overvågningssamfund, som er styret af et social credit score-system, som det vi netop bliver set i Kina? En verden, hvor hele dit liv og alt, hvad du gør, bliver overvåget af et algoritmesystem, som dikterer alt, hvad du kan og ikke kan, hvad du kan foretage dig eller få adgang til.
Can you call the supervisor? I cannot do that. Can you just call the supervisor? I cannot do that. Call the fucking supervisor.
Okay, that's profanity. We're zero tolerance on profanity.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Yeah, I have to serve the next customer.
No.
Step away, ma'am.
God, just fucking help me. I'm so sorry.
I've called security.
Oh, no, please don't do that. I'm a 5-starring you. 5 stars.
What's the issue here, Hannah? Intimidation and profanity.
Oh, no, I was not intimidating.
Don't speak, ma'am.
I was just trying to...
Okay, so, in order to restore calm, I'm invoking my authority as airport security to dock you 1 full ranking point as a punitive measure. This is a temporary measure.
No!
The score reverts to normal in 24 hours.
No, but I need it now.
Period, all downvotes are subject to a ×2 multiplier.
×2?
We recommend you avoid negative feedback at this time.
I'm on double damage.
Please, remove yourself from the airport immediately.